dear students. I'm so glad we meet again in the next revision online class for your first midterm 2021. I think you are getting ready for your first midterm. Already I have completed one lesson, that is lesson 2, nutrition in animals. I have discussed all the 2 marks and all the 5 marks. And in today's class I am going to discuss lesson 4, heat. I'll try my best to complete or revise almost all the 2 marks and the 5 marks within this one period. Keenly observe the concepts that are hidden in the answers. As I said in last class, certain concepts which is not discussed in the lesson can be discussed during revision with related to your question answers, especially with related to question answers which has the heading give reason, so which are good for your brain also. Okay, so concentrate and so that you will understand the question. When you understand the answers, when you understand the meaning of the answers or the concepts, it will be very easy for you to memorize and recall in your exams. So keeping this in mind, concentrate also on the revision classes. Apart from concentrating or listening or observing the online classes, concentrate also on the revision classes, which will be very useful not only for your exam but also for your basic life. Okay, come, let us start the revision. As usual, let us start with the 2 mark answers. The first question is, you are advised to use an umbrella when you go out in the sun. Why? I repeat, you are advised to use an umbrella when you go out in the sun. Why? The answer is, umbrella can save us from the unbearable heat energy which comes from the sun by radiation. So actually, apart from what is said in this answer, that is, it is said in the answer, umbrella can save us from the unbearable heat energy which comes from the sun by radiation. I hope you recall those 3 terms: conduction, convection and radiation. The transfer of heat energy through solids without the actual movement of molecules in that medium is actually known as conduction. The transfer of heat in liquids and gases by the actual movement of particles of the medium is actually known as convection. Whereas the transfer of heat in vacuum, that is empty space without any medium at all, is actually known as radiation. Okay, conduction, convection and radiation. The transfer of heat in solids, for example, if mother is preparing a dosa karandi to apply heat on you, that is known as conduction. Boiling of water or heating up of air in the atmosphere is convection. And the sun rays heat, especially the heat of the sun moving towards the earth in an empty space, I mean above the atmosphere, we have only empty space. In that medium, the heat energy is transferred towards the earth or towards the earth's atmosphere, and that movement is actually known as radiation. Sun which is found in a vacuum, that is empty space, there is no gas in space. From the sun, the heat is transferred towards the earth containing the atmosphere rich in gases. Hence, since the heat energy is transferred in a vacuum towards the earth, it is actually known as radiation. And the second thing I just want to say here is, umbrella can save us from the unbearable heat energy which comes from the sun, but at the same time it is advisable not to use an umbrella of black color, because this also we have learned in this lesson. When we use an umbrella with a black color, this will absorb, this black color will absorb more amount of heat energy, and because of that we will feel so warm inside the umbrella, or will feel sweaty. So that's why I say it is not advisable to use a black umbrella during summer. The second question is, the clinical thermometer is dipped in an antiseptic solution before use. Why? I repeat, the clinical thermometer is dipped in an antiseptic solution before use. Why? I think you all know that there are three types of thermometers as per the book. Even though there might be many different types of thermometers, those three include a clinical thermometer, laboratory thermometer, and minimum and maximum thermometer. Here in this question we are learning about clinical thermometer. I hope you know, we have learned even in 7th lesson this minimum and maximum thermometer, which is mainly used to measure the weather condition of a particular place. Clinical thermometer, which is used to measure the body temperature of humans or animals, and a laboratory thermometer, which is used to measure the temperature of a particular place or a particular site. So the question is, the clinical thermometer is dipped in an antiseptic solution before use. Why? The answer is, clinical thermometer is used for each and every patient for measuring the body temperature. That is, in hospitals especially, the same thermometer is used for each and every patient. I hope you know there are various sites, SITES, sites where the thermometer is placed and the temperature can be measured. For example, it can be used by inserting into the mouth below the tongue, or maybe it can be inserted into the armpit, or thirdly it can be inserted into elbow, etc. But still, most of the cases you might have seen the thermometer used by inserting into the mouth actually. In that case we are talking about patients. So if the same thermometer is kept in each and every person's mouth for measuring body temperature, I hope you know what will happen. By this time you will understand the awkwardness of using the same thermometer from someone's mouth into your mouth. Okay, so for this reason, to prevent the transfer of germs, so that is what given the book, the answer. So to prevent the passing of germs from one person to another, it is necessary to dip it in an antiseptic solution before use. I hope you understand. Okay, when you dip or when you wipe with an antiseptic solution, the germs that are found in the previous person's mouth, or that is sticking into the thermometer, will be killed, and this is why it is dipped in an antiseptic solution. The third question is, the thermometer is kept under the tongue. Why? Just now I said the thermometer, if it is if it is kept inside the mouth, it is actually kept under the tongue. Okay, so that is the question. The thermometer is kept under the tongue. Why? The answer is, we keep the thermometer under the tongue because it shows our average body temperature. So we can measure average body temperature from that particular site. That is, as I said for a second answer, we have certain sites or certain places of our body where we can measure our average body temperature, and one such is in our mouth, that too keeping under the tongue, and that is why we use thermometer under the tongue. Okay, so this shows the average body temperature. The fourth question is, what do you mean by convection of heat? For the first time, when we were discussing the first answer, I said there are three types of transfer of heat. That is conduction, convection, and radiation. Conduction is transfer of heat in solids without the actual movement of particles. Convection is transfer of heat in liquids and gases, that is I can say fluid, transfer of heat in fluids. fluids includes liquid and gases by the actual movement of molecules, and finally radiation, the transfer of heat in vacuum, that is empty space. Okay, let me read the answer. Convection. What do you mean by convection of heat? This is the question. The answer is convection is the process by which heat is transferred in liquids and gases by the actual movement of particles of the medium. I hope you have learned in 6th standard solids, liquids and gases. Okay, 3 types of matter, but there are actually many types of matter. Solids, where the molecules are closely packed. The molecules that are found in the solids are closely packed. Liquid, where the molecules are freely packed, so you have enough space between the molecules in liquids. And in gases, the molecules are very far away from each other, that is more space will be found in between the molecules. This is the nature of solid, liquid and gas, and because of this only you come across solid a rigid shape. I hope you know what is meant by rigid. You cannot press it, it will be solid. You take a rock or a brick. So that is the nature of solid, because the molecules inside are tightly packed without space. And that is why conduction, where we learn it is the transfer of heat without the actual movement of molecules, because inside the molecules cannot move. So that the heat is transferred directly from one molecule to another by mere touching each other. That is the specialty of conduction. In liquids and gases, where you have space, in liquids you have space, and gases very much space, more space. And here you come across movement of molecules also, free movement of molecules. And if a transfer of heat takes place by this free movement of molecules, then it is known as convection. So this is the answer. Again I repeat, convection is the process by which heat is transferred in liquids and gases. Liquids and gases, they are together called as fluids by the actual movement of particles of the medium. Particles or molecules, by the actual movement of particles, or we can say by the actual movement of molecules of the medium. Medium in the sense liquid medium or gaseous medium. The 5th question is, what are convectional currents? Again I repeat, what are convectional currents? The answer is the continuous circulation of air in atmosphere due to difference of temperatures is called convectional current. Sea breeze and land breeze are examples of convectional current. So we have learned in the lesson that the air keeps on moving. We have learned in 4th lesson as well as in 7th lesson. You come across a continuous circulation of air in the atmosphere, and this is mainly because of the difference of temperatures, and that results in wind actually. Okay, so wind is none other than movement of air, and that's what we are learning in this answer, the continuous circulation of air in atmosphere, and which is because of temperature difference. This results in a breeze, that is a cool air. A slow movement of air is actually known as breeze. We have 2 types of breezes. One is sea breeze and other is land breeze. Air moves from sea towards the land, it is known as sea breeze. And if air moves from land towards sea, it is known as land breeze, which you have learned in the lesson. Okay, movement of air from sea towards the land is known as sea breeze, and movement of air from the land towards the sea is known as land breeze. Provided here we are not using wind. Wind might be cool or warm, but breeze, which means it is always a cool air. So with this regard, the movement of cool air from the sea towards the land is known as sea breeze, and movement of cool air from the land towards the sea is known as land breeze. Because when there is movement of sea breeze from the sea towards the land, automatically there is movement of warm air from the land towards the sea. I hope you understand. Similarly, when there is land breeze, you come across warm air moving towards the land. So always there is a balancing, there is an adjustment in the atmospheric pressure. So atmospheric pressure is also another reason, main reason for this convectional current. One, heating up of air. Second is the atmospheric pressure. These two are the main reasons for the convectional currents. Okay, so shall I read the answer again? The continuous circulation of air in atmosphere due to difference of temperatures is called convectional current. The two examples of convectional current are sea breeze and land breeze. I hope all the answers are easy, like how we learned in second lesson. Even here the 2 mark answers are very easy. Your duty is, apart from listening to the answers, listening to the revision class, kindly sit and study all the answers. Since they are easy, it is better if you immediately sit and study so that you don't forget what I have discussed. Okay, fine. The sixth answer is, what is temperature? Generally, we have learned in 6th standard measurement. So what is measurement? Measurement is none other than the comparison of an unknown quantity with a known quantity. Similarly, here temperature is also a kind of measurement where it is the degree of hotness or coldness of a body. Okay, so we are just measuring temperature based on the hotness or coldness of a body. So when we say that a particular thing, a particular body is this much hot, this much cold. Okay, so that's why it is given the answer. Temperature is the degree of hotness or coldness of a body. So degree, which is none other than measurement of. Okay, so instead of measurement they have given here degree of. So if you replace this degree with the measurement, you will understand the meaning. So temperature is the measurement of hotness or coldness of a body. Okay, so but you should not write measurement, write what is in the answer. Temperature is the degree of hotness or coldness of a body. Then 7th answer is, what are insulators of heat? I repeat, what are insulators of heat? So based on the transfer of heat, the substances are classified into 2 types as conductors and insulators. If heat is transferred through an object or a body, it is known as conductor. If heat cannot pass through an object or a body, it is known as insulator. Okay, so here the question is about insulator. Okay, let me read the answer. A material through which very little or no heat energy flows is actually known as insulator. Again I repeat, a material through which very little heat or no heat energy flows through it is actually known as insulator. Example, plastic, wood, etc. So these simple things you should be knowing before. If you don't know about these conductors, insulators, at least by this time you have in mind what are all conductors, what are all insulators. Because when there is a issue facing in your life, you have to apply this in your life. For example, when something is hot, you want to hold it, what you have to do? You have to go for an insulator. Using an insulator, you can handle those hot objects. Okay, the two based on the degree of hotness, you have to go for different kinds of insulators. Okay, this also implies for certain fire accidents where we have to handle it carefully. You might have seen in some social media how they are handling fire accidents. So you, in the sense, not at this age, maybe when you grow up, you can handle those based on what you learn. Okay, so this is why we are learning all this in our school, right? Anyhow, so again I repeat, a material through which very little or no heat energy flows is called insulator. Examples, plastic, wood, etc. Then 8th question, what are the common scales in which temperatures are usually measured? Again I repeat, what are the common scales in which temperature are usually measured? So this is the intro of this lesson. Okay, there are three common scales such as Celsius scale, Kelvin scale and Fahrenheit scale, which we measure as Celsius scale as degree C, Kelvin scale as K without any degrees. You should not write degree for Kelvin, so as per the rule. And Fahrenheit scale degree F. You might have heard these words in day-to-day life when doctor measures your temperature, okay, or if you are hearing someone's body temperature, okay, you might have heard this three terms, especially Celsius and Fahrenheit. I hope you might not have heard this, but actually Kelvin is the SI unit of temperature, K, okay, not Celsius and not Fahrenheit. Anyhow, so three common scales are used to measure temperature. One, degree C, that is Celsius scale, K, that is Kelvin scale, and finally degree F, that is Fahrenheit scale. I hope you are able to understand what I am saying about. That is the temperature measured as 45 degrees Celsius, 90 degree Fahrenheit, okay, 200 Kelvin, okay. So this is what I am talking about: Celsius scale, Kelvin scale and Fahrenheit scale. Again I repeat, you should not use the degree for Kelvin. Simply you have to write K instead of degree. 5 more to go. Now 9th question. Why do we wear woolen cloths in winter? Why do we wear woolen cloths in winter? The answer is because wool is a poor conductor of heat and it traps air in between the fibers, thus keeping us warm and comfortable during winter. Again I repeat, because wool is a poor conductor of heat and it traps air in between the fibers, thus keeping us warm and comfortable during winter. So actually, first point, I hope you have learned in lower classes, at least in 6th standard you have learned wool is a poor conductor of heat. Maybe in fiber and fabric lesson or some other lesson you might have learned this. Wool is a poor conductor of heat. Poor conductor means will not allow heat to pass through. So that's why it is known as poor conductor of heat. And apart from that, the wool which is made of fur of animals, hair of animals is known as fur. And there is more hair, it is that collection is known as fur. This wool it traps air in between the fibers. So when you talk about fur or hair, what is hidden inside is more space in between the hairs, more space in between the fur, and that air, which is also a poor conductor of heat, keeps us warm and comfortable during winter. So this poor conductor of heat, especially air, the air's nature, which is a poor conductor of heat, is applied in many situations. For example, in snowy regions where there is snow, you come across two windows, one on the other, one next to the other. This is mainly to trap air. When there are two glass windows, I hope you understand, in between those two windows you come across air trapped, and that helps the loss of heat or transfer of heat from one region towards the other. What I'm saying is, in houses of snowy regions or hilly regions where they use this kind of windows, and you come across air trapped inside the windows, that is the two doors of the windows, and because of this the air helps to maintain the warmness inside the house. At the same time, it avoids the cool air from outside, freezing temperature from outside to enter into the house. So this is one importance of this poor conductor of air, the poor conductive nature of air. Similarly, here we use this same concept, the wool which has a space where air is trapped, and because of that it maintains the warmness of the body and keeps us comfortable during winter. At the same time, it also avoids the freezing temperature of the atmosphere, freezing temperature of the environment towards our body. That is, the temperature will not affect us, the environment will not affect us. and that is why we wear woolen clothes in winter. The 10th question is, what kind of clothes will keep us comfortable in summer? Again I repeat, what kind of clothes will keep us comfortable in summer? We feel more comfortable in light colored cotton cloths in the summer. Okay, so here two answers are given. One, cotton cloths, and the two, a light colored cotton cloths. Okay, so let us see what is the reason. Because these light colored cloths absorb less amount of heat and help to keep us cool. So what you have learned before, maybe in 6th standard. So don't think I am always taking from 6th standard. This shows that each and every year is important. If you have not learned 6th standard, you will know nothing in 7th standard or in any other higher classes. If you are not learning this year, next year you are going to struggle. You will be put in a position where you know nothing about or you find it difficult to learn those higher concepts. Okay, so this is why basic knowledge is very necessary. Anyhow, so we feel more comfortable in light colored cotton cloths in summer because light colored cotton cloths absorb less amount of heat and help to keep us cool. Okay, so this we have learned in lesson also with the two objects, black colored and light colored objects. Even in first answer I said the umbrella should not be a black color during summer. Okay, because it absorbs more amount of heat. Similarly here in summer we are advised to use cotton cloths. Why cotton cloths? Because cotton cloths, they absorb the moist, they absorb the sweat from our body, and also it easily or fastly loses that absorbed water. So that is the nature of cotton. And that shirt should also be light colored such that more heat will not be absorbed. Light colored shirts or light colored objects will not absorb more heat. Only dark colored objects, dark colored shirts will absorb more heat energy, and that's why it is preferable to use light colored cotton cloths during summer. Okay, the 11th question is, what are the three modes of transfer of heat? The three modes of transfer of heat are, can you say? Yes, good. 1, conduction, 2, convection, and radiation. So just 3 words, very easy. And when you write these answers, 2-mark answers, keep in mind you ought to write only in a sentence. Then only you will be given full marks. If you write only the words, for example, conduction, convection, radiation, you may lose half mark or 1 mark. So the answer is the three modes of transfer of heat are conduction, convection, and radiation. One more thing, my dear students, also give importance to the pronunciation. Okay, that's why we are reading the answers, not only explaining, we are also reading the answers, because to give importance to the pronunciation. Okay, conduction, convection, and radiation. So you can repeat what we are discussing. Okay, what I am teaching. The next 12th question, how are trade winds caused? How are trade winds caused? Convectional currents in air is responsible for the blowing of trade winds. Again, same concept we have discussed before. During summer, air becomes warm because of the radiation of the sun, heat from the sun, and warm air always moves up and leading to cool air getting into that region, and that is actually known as trade winds. The reason for this is convectional currents. The convectional currents in air, so answer is convectional current. So instead of writing in one word, you are writing in a sentence. That is, convectional currents in air is responsible for the blowing of trade winds. Then coming to the final question, 13th question, what are good conductors of heat? Give 2 examples. So instead of simply saying conductor, I hope you know what is meant by conductor and insulator. Conductor which allows the heat to transfer through it, and insulator which does not allow heat to pass through it or transfer through it. A body that allows heat to flow through it is called a good conductor of heat. So in conductor we use the word good conductor, poor conductor, bad conductor. Okay. If it allows freely, if more amount of heat is transferred or heat is transferred fastly, then that kind of conductors are known as good conductor. And slowly, when that conduction is reduced, when the heat is not freely flowing through it, it is known as bad conductor or poor conductors. In insulators, no flow at all. Okay, so a slight changes: good conductor, bad conductor or poor conductor, and insulator. So with regard to iron and copper, that is metals like iron and copper, where the heat flows freely, and that is known as good conductor of heat. Again I repeat, I am reading the answer. A body that allows heat to flow through it is called good conductor of heat. Example, iron, copper, etc. If it does not allow heat to flow through it, it is known as insulator. Okay, it is not a conductor, it is an insulator. At the same time, there are certain examples where the heat will be transferred, but either mild amount of heat or slow heat is transferred. Heat is transferred slowly. In that case, we call them as poor conductor or bad conductor. Also, keep in mind, it is not only for heat. Even for electricity, we have this good conductor, bad conductor, poor conductor, and insulator. Instead of heat, there electricity. That is, if electricity is passed through, it is known as good conductor. It is not much passed, it is known as bad conductor or poor conductor. If no electricity passes through a substance, that is known as insulator. So here, conductor of heat, insulator of heat, and there conductor of electricity, insulator of electricity. Okay, so almost the same meaning, but the flow is different. Here heat and there is electricity. Even though we have 6 5-mark answers, since lack of time, I just selected just one answer from 5 marks, which I feel as very important. That is second question, which is actually given even in short answers. Never mind. So since we have 4 points in this answer, it might be asked in 5 marks also. So I take that for 5 mark discussion today. The question is, what are the characteristic features of mercury used in a thermometer? What are the characteristic features of mercury used in a thermometer? This can also be asked in other way. Why mercury is used in thermometers? But the answer is same. Okay, anyhow, the characteristic features of mercury are: 1. Mercury has a uniform expansion rate. So it expands uniformly, and that is why we use mercury in thermometer. Okay, first point, mercury has a uniform expansion rate. Then second point, mercury is a good conductor of heat. Like many other metals, it is a good conductor of heat. Then third, mercury has a low specific heat capacity. So it does not take too much heat from the body when measured. That is, a mild heat is sufficient to expand. So that is the meaning of low specific heat capacity, and that's why we are using mercury. Okay, 1, uniform expansion rate. Second, it's a good conductor of heat, and third, it has a low specific heat capacity. So this can be understood by the sentence that follows. That is, it does not take too much heat from the body. That is, it doesn't need more heat from the body. So that's why within a few seconds you can calculate the temperature, and that is why mercury is used, because it starts to expand and shows the temperature of a body or temperature of a person. Again I repeat this third point. Mercury has a low specific heat capacity, so it does not take too much heat from the body. Then last point, fourth point, it expands and contracts uniformly with a rise and fall in temperature. Again I repeat, it expands and contracts uniformly. That is, when it is applied on a body, it expands uniformly, almost equal to the first point. Not only expansion, this point says even contraction. That is, as soon as you measure the temperature, you know that the thermometer will be shaken twice or thrice. So automatically, since the heat is lost, the mercury will start to contract and runs back to the bulb. And this is what they are discussing in this point. Mercury expands as well as contracts uniformly with a rise and fall in temperature. That is, when there is a rise in temperature, it expands, and when there is a fall in temperature, it contracts. But the important point is both expansion and contraction happens uniformly. Okay, so this is also a very easy 5-mark answer, as well as important answer. So that's why I selected this. So since time up, we'll wind up this. Like last revision class, this revision class assignment is simple. Again, you write all these question answers. That is, we have discussed some 13 2-mark answers and 1 5-mark answer. So this you write in your notebook neatly. Okay, take a fresh page, write the name of the lesson, 4 heat, write today's date, and write all these 2-mark answers. Write Rome letter 2 long answer, and write that 1 5-mark answer that we discussed. The question is, what are the characteristic features of mercury used in a thermometer? Okay, all the 13 2 marks and 1 5 marks write in the notebook, and also read and recite to your parents, because in another 3 days midterm exam is going to start. So get ready now itself. You will not be having time at that moment. Write the maths and science exams in unruled paper, especially those who are getting papers from outside. You have to write the maths and science exams in unruled paper. Draw a neat margin, fill all the basic necessities, your name, class and section, exam number, date, etc., and start after praying. Okay, tell a small prayer within yourself. Seek the help of God. Okay, and before that you should be getting ready for the exam. So prepare from now itself, prepare well for the exam. Don't try to copy. Okay, don't think no one is looking at you. Whatever you do, hiding yourself, someone is there also hiding. That is God, who always hide besides you or behind you and watching whatever you do. So be aware of him. Always have faith in him, pray to him, study well, and then furnish the exam properly. Okay, don't try to do any malpractice. Even when some elder is insisting you to do, try not to do. You maintain your decency, you maintain your discipline, and write genuinely as much as possible. Okay, your genuineness speaks more rather than your marks. This I say out of my experience. Okay, so be genuine, be sticking on to what God has said, either through Quran or through Bible or through Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so every religion says only one thing, to be good. Okay, so every God says that only. So keeping that in mind, write neatly your exams, do well, follow this unruled sheets for maths and science exams, and after each answer draw a line, either 2 marks or 5 marks. Similarly, after finishing the exercise, you don't need to write the question. I suppose you will be writing the answer. If you write the question, no problem. After the exercise, you draw a line. Similarly, after every 2 marks or every 5 mark, you have to draw a line. Try to attend all the 2 marks and 5 marks as per choice. Okay, if you write extra, you may lose marks. So keep that choice. Okay, if there is any choice, you have to write only as per the choice. Don't write more. Okay, so our prayers are always for you. Don't worry about anything. Just do your duties. Try to be punctual. Try to be disciplined. and have a good faith in God. Okay, all the best. Do all the exams well, especially science exam in the best manner. Thank you.